When Your Wounds Become Your Wisdom, the Revolutionary Power of Softness. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today, for choosing to spend this precious time exploring ideas that might fundamentally challenge how we think about healing, strength, and what it truly means to transform our deepest pain into purpose. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Melissa Fuller, a visionary whose journey through grief and healing has completely revolutionized how I understand resilience. Melissa isn't just remarkable, she's revolutionary. A woman who has transformed her most devastating wounds into wisdom that's changing how Black women approach healing and spiritual alignment across the country. Her insights aren't just powerful, they're paradigm shifting in ways that are sending ripples through the communities that have historically been told to simply be strong and push through. What struck me most about my conversation with Melissa was her radical reframing of grief. Most of us have been taught to view grief as something to overcome, to push through, to get past as quickly as possible so we can return to normal life. But Melissa offers us a profoundly different perspective, one that turns our conventional wisdom completely upside down. What if our greatest pain isn't an obstacle to our growth, but the very catalyst for it? This question sits at the heart of what I want to explore with you today. Because the truth is, we've been sold a dangerous myth about strength and healing, particularly for Black women. We've been told that strength means endurance without complaint, that healing means returning to who we were before the wound, that success means never showing vulnerability. And I'm here to tell you that this myth isn't just wrong, it's destructive. It's killing us slowly from the inside out. The real transformation happens when we stop fighting against our pain and start moving through it with intention and spiritual alignment. When we recognize that our wounds aren't weaknesses to hide, but portals to profound wisdom. Let me share with you three powerful stories that illustrate this principle in action. Dr. Maya Johnson was, by all conventional measures, the epitome of success, a respected clinical psychologist with a thriving practice, admired by colleagues, beloved by her family. But within an 18-month period, Maya lost her mother, her brother, and her husband, leaving her to raise her 10-year-old son alone. The grief was overwhelming. It threatened everything: her practice, her financial stability, her ability to parent effectively. She developed insomnia and anxiety that affected her daily functioning. She found herself unable to concentrate, unable to connect, unable to access the very therapeutic tools she had taught others for years. Now, conventional wisdom would suggest that Maya needed to stay strong, to push through, to compartmentalize her grief so she could continue functioning, to get back to normal as quickly as possible. But Maya did something radical instead. She created what she calls a grief sanctuary in her home, a dedicated space for processing emotions, a place where she could fall apart completely without judgment or timeline. She implemented spiritual practices, combining ancestral rituals with modern therapy techniques. And perhaps most courageously, this woman who had always been the strong one allowed herself to be supported by forming a circle of other Black women experiencing similar losses. Within 2 years, Maya not only stabilized, but developed a revolutionary grief counseling approach specifically for Black women facing multiple losses. She published groundbreaking research on culturally responsive grief therapy, created healing retreats, and established the scholarship fund in her family members' names. Maya's work has transformed how grief is addressed in Black communities, particularly for women who have traditionally been expected to be strong rather than fully process their emotions. What's remarkable about Maya's story isn't just her resilience, it's that she didn't simply return to who she was before her losses. She emerged as someone entirely new, someone with deeper wisdom, greater purpose, and more authentic power. This is what Melissa Fuller calls transformative resilience, not bouncing back, but evolving forward. Consider the story of Aisha Williams, a 38-year-old entrepreneur who faced foreclosure on her family home while simultaneously discovering unsettling truths about her family history and identity. Aisha discovered documents suggesting her birth certificate contained falsified information, potentially compromising her legal identity. At the same time, she was fighting to save her childhood home from foreclosure after inheriting it with incomplete paperwork and missing policies. For Aisha, this home wasn't just property, it contained generations of family history, the handprints of her great grandchildren in the concrete steps, the height markers on the kitchen door frame, the garden her grandmother had planted. It was the last tangible connection to her parents' legacy. Most people would approach these challenges as purely practical problems requiring practical solutions, legal assistance, financial advisors, document specialists. But Aisha recognized something deeper at work. She approached these challenges as spiritual warfare, requiring spiritual solutions. Yes, she took practical legal action, but she combined it with intentional spiritual practices, including ancestral healing rituals, community prayer circles, and meditation focused on truth seeking. Through this alignment of practical action and spiritual intention, Aisha not only uncovered her true identity, but also discovered previously unknown family members who helped her navigate the complex legal landscape of home ownership. She successfully prevented foreclosure, established her legal identity, and went on to create a foundation helping other Black families navigate property inheritance issues and identity documentation challenges. What's powerful about Aisha's story is how she refused to separate her practical challenges from her spiritual journey. By approaching her crisis as an opportunity for deeper alignment, she discovered resources, both internal and external, that would have remained hidden had she treated her situation as merely a legal problem. This is what Melissa Fuller means by intentional alignment, creating daily practices that align our actions with our spiritual values, providing an anchor during life storms. The third story I want to share is that of Kendra Roberts, a 45-year-old wellness advocate who transformed her experience with maternal loss and health crises into a revolutionary approach to Black women's wellness. After losing her mother to a sudden illness that went undiagnosed until too late, Kendra herself faced a serious health crisis. She encountered medical gaslighting, dismissal of her symptoms, and a healthcare system unprepared to address the specific needs of Black women. Kendra had watched her mother's health concerns be repeatedly dismissed by medical professionals. She could have allowed her grief and anger to consume her. Instead, she developed what she calls intentional wellness, combining advocacy, spiritual practices, and community support. She documented her medical journey meticulously and created protocols for other Black women to advocate for themselves in medical settings. Not only did Kendra recover, but she created a wellness movement specifically addressing the intersection of spiritual, emotional, and physical health for Black women. She established wellness circles in 5 major cities, developed training programs for medical providers on Black women's health experiences, and created a digital platform connecting Black women with culturally competent healthcare providers. Her work has been credited with saving lives through early intervention and has changed institutional practices in several major healthcare systems. What's remarkable about Kendra's journey is how she transformed her grief into purpose. She didn't just heal herself, she created healing pathways for countless other women. Her pain became the doorway to her most meaningful work. These 3 stories illustrate a profound truth that Melissa Fuller has articulated so beautifully. Our wounds can be our wisdom, our grief can be our gateway, our challenges can be our transformation. But embracing this truth requires us to reject some deeply ingrained cultural messages, particularly for Black women. We've been told that strength means never breaking down, that success means never showing vulnerability, that healing means returning to normal as quickly as possible. Melissa Fuller's revolutionary insight is that true strength isn't about avoiding breakdown, it's about breaking open. True success isn't about projecting invulnerability, it's about authentic integration of all parts of ourselves. And true healing doesn't return us to who we were before trauma. It catalyzes a complete metamorphosis into someone more authentic, powerful, and purposeful. In the words of Shug Avery from The Color Purple, everything want to be loved. That includes every broken piece of ourselves, every grief, every wound, every fear. When we bring love and intention to these parts, they transform from burdens into bridges to our most authentic power. This is what I call the revolutionary power of softness. Not weakness, but a profound strength that comes from alignment, integration, and authenticity. When we align our intentions with our spiritual practices, when we honor our grief as a gateway rather than an obstacle, when we embrace transformation rather than mere recovery, we discover resources within ourselves that we never knew existed. So I challenge you today, what if the very thing that's breaking your heart is also breaking it open? What if your deepest wound is actually the doorway to your most authentic power? I want you to leave here today and do something radical. Create a space in your life, physical or metaphorical, where you allow yourself to feel everything, where you honor your wounds instead of hiding them, where you approach your challenges not just as problems to solve, but as invitations to transform. Because when we collectively reject the myth that strength means never breaking, when we embrace the revolutionary power of softness, we don't just heal ourselves, we create new possibilities for healing in our families, our communities, our world. The world doesn't need more people who've learned to endure pain silently. It needs people who've learned to transform pain into purpose, who've learned to turn wounds into wisdom, who have learned that true power isn't about never falling. It's about how we rise, who we become in the rising, and who we bring with us as we rise. Thank you.